All right. Are we rocking and rolling? We are. Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody doing?
How's everyone doing?
Also out in the world of Instagram.
Yeah, I just got the notification. That's Instagram. Awesome. And then we're StreamYard right here. Fantastic.
Sweet. Yeah, so we've got Facebook. We're streaming to YouTube as well as Twitter. And my camera is on the gram. How's everyone doing? I'm Radlyn Mendoza. This is my husband and law partner, John Gardner, and we are here tonight, as we are every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to first and foremost answer your immigration questions. So put them in the comments right now. We will try to answer every single question.
We do this every week, and that's the most important thing that we like to do is answer those questions.
Yes, it makes it like you guys are here and we're having a conversation.
Yeah, it's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the immigration attorneys, and John is a criminal defense attorney at the law firm of Gardner and Mendoza, a law firm that we founded 20 years ago. Can't believe it. October 2000 is when we started our law firm. Right. So this is our 20th year anniversary, which
very cool.
we're pretty happy about, stoked we're still here. Yeah. And
not too shabby.
Yeah, not too shabby. Our physical office is located in Virginia Beach, Virginia, but of course, as an immigration law firm, we serve clients all around the world. And we are going to talk to you guys about some immigration updates tonight. But again, please, if you have questions, put them in the comments and we will answer them. I've got iPad here checking it, and if there are any questions on Instagram, we'll also
glance up there occasionally, see if anything's going on up there.
Right. We just started doing that on Instagram. Hopefully it's not too distracting for me because I kind of have like a attention situation. Anyway, so what are we talking about tonight?
Well, we're going to do what we do every week. We always start out with an immigration inspirational story, and Radlyn is going to be doing that tonight, and she usually does. I've done it a few times, but usually Radlyn does that, and so that's where we're going to start. We are going to bring you some USCIS updates and just general immigration law. I'm going to talk about the Biden immigration reform bills. They're not Biden's bills, of course. One came out of the Senate, some will come out of the House. Get you kind of up to speed with what's going on with that, where that is at the moment. And as we said at the beginning, we're going to answer all of your questions. That's the most important thing. So if you have the questions, make sure you get them coming. All right.
We've got the first comment. It's Grant Simmons, our amazing neighbor
and friend.
And he does indeed have an inspiring story. Grant, we are going to tell your story because I think it's a super, super cool, inspiring story. Mm-hmm. He's a great guy. You guys should check him out on Facebook. He takes beautiful pictures of the sunrise.
Really nice
every
pictures.
Morning. I think he's a professional photographer, and he's just kind of like hiding that skill.
Absolutely
sandbagging, right?
Sandbagging.
And you're like, oh, cool! These pictures that you take, they're so amazing. And he's like, yeah, I'm a professional photographer. But anyway, Grant, thanks for commenting and being on our live stream tonight. We really appreciate the support, and everyone else who's on as well. I can't really tell just because. Do you have your phone on you?
I do.
Let me check it out. Okay. So while I do that, wait, is it my turn?
Well, you were going to do our immigration inspiration story,
but you didn't give the this is for educational purposes only.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah,
you didn't give the legal disclaimer. We're lawyers. We've got to give the legal disclaimer. Come on, honey.
Legal disclaimer. So we just want to remind everyone that what we do here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not technically legal advice. Okay.
Yes, Gabby's here. Natasha, Miss Mirna. Oh, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us on a Sunday night.
That's right. It's the 18th of April.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Did I just say that?
Yeah. What's the 18th of April? What's the significance of that?
Well, I mean, it's Paul Revere's famous ride, right? I mean, the 18th of April. Everybody knows the poem, right?
I don't think everyone knows the poem. I think you should recite some of the
Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. All right, I'll just do a little bit.
Grant needs to hear this.
Yeah, Grant needs to hear this. That's right. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. It was the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend, "If the British march by land or sea from the town tonight, hang a lantern in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light. One if by land, two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm to every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up and to arm."
Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. See, this is why I married this guy. He's very poetic.
My grandmother taught me that poem. When I was a little boy, I was sick one day and I stayed at her house. Nana, that's what we called her. And I said, "Nana, what's the day today?" And she said, "Well, it's the 18th of April. And I said, "Okay." And then she said, "That reminds me." And then she recited the poem. And then I stayed at her house that whole day and she taught me the poem. I mean, there's a lot more to it, by the way. That's just the very beginning. It goes on and on and on. It's a very long poem.
Yes. So our daughter, Sammy's like, "Do you know you're live right now on Instagram?" "Yes, Sammy, we do know we're live. Don't you worry. We know exactly what we're doing, buddy."
Sammy's like, "Uh-oh, something horribly wrong has happened here. My parents are live on Instagram and my dad is reciting a poem about Paul Revere."
She's having secondhand embarrassment, but I think only one person dropped off while you were doing that poem. Not even one. So, all right, guys. All right. Let's get going here and let's talk about our inspiring immigration story of the evening. And I tried to upload a video and I just couldn't figure it out and make it work. I really wanted to, but the person that John and I chose this week is Rebecca Keat. Rebecca Keat is a very dear friend of ours.
She's awesome. She
is from Australia, and we met Beck and her wife, Siri Lindley, in 2017 at a Tony Robbins event. And it was crazy because I was listening to one of Tony Robbins' podcasts, probably, maybe 6 or 8 months before. And this woman, I heard her speak, Siri Lindley, and she's a world champion triathlete.
Yeah, her book is
her book is in here.
Right
it's
here.
signed. There it is. Surfacing. It's right. Can you guys see that? It's right there. So, and I listened to this podcast and it was like, "Babe, you gotta listen to this. It's amazing. This is a world champion triathlete." And the craziest thing is she didn't even know how to swim when she took up triathlon, the sport of triathlon. So very, very inspiring. I was like, I'm gonna send her a message. You know how when you hear these, you get very inspired. And of course, I didn't send the message. Time went past, whatever. I didn't send the message, but it always stuck. That podcast always stuck in my mind. So John and I are at this, Unleash the Power Within Tony Robbins event. We're huge Tony Robbins fans. We've hugged him. He's amazing. Anyway, and
if you've never seen him, you really should try to. Very inspiring.
Absolutely. So we're sitting there, and I turn around, right, and then they tell us, "Go introduce yourself to the people around you," and I turn around and I see these 2 women, and I was like, "Wow, you guys are fit. What do you do?" Because they're fit, they're tall, and anyway, so they chuckled and laughed, and we introduced each other. We introduced ourselves, and then I heard a voice. I was like, wait a minute. That voice is so familiar. And I was like, "Did you do a podcast on Tony Robbins?" Like multiple millions of downloads on this particular podcast. I'll put it in the link. And she's like, yeah. So very humble. And, I was telling everybody, I was like super excited because here's Siri Lindley and she introduces us to her wife, Rebecca Keat, also a champion Iron woman, right? And it's just kind of like serendipitous. This meeting is so weird and crazy that they were sitting right behind us. So of course, we talk to people. We, especially at these events, we introduce ourselves. We're like, what do you do? We're immigration attorneys. Like, oh, you know what? I need some immigration help. My wife is from Australia and she needs to get her 2-year card renewed. And I'm like, I can totally help you with that. We exchange numbers, and I knew, and John knew, that we were going to see them again and become friends with them, because that was just the energy, the vibe. So Rebecca Keat so that was all about meeting Rebecca Keat. She became our client, and I'll just read a couple of things here. When she was there in 2017, she had just retired from triathlon, and she was 6-time iron distance champion, 3-time national champion, former world number 1, and world record 2-time junior world champion. So that's what she had under her belt as she was retiring from the sport of triathlon. And I remember Siri telling me, we're trying to figure out what life after being a professional athlete for Beck. And boy, did they find their niche. So they started a nonprofit called Believe Ranch and Rescue, where they rescue horses. They're part of this. Basically, they're going to change the law with regard to ending American horse for human consumption. So it's called Horses in Our Hands, and Horses in Our Hands is basically going to change by 2022 to end the slaughter of American horses for human consumption. So they are just on that mission and that purpose. And we're just super proud to call them our friends and our clients. We got the 10-year green card, and then we got the U.S. citizenship for Beck. And it's so funny because, she works, of course, with politicians and trying to get this legislation passed. And now she's a U.S. citizen, so she can, actually vote now and everything else. So we are, like I said, it's a very inspiring story. She's just doing so much good in the world. And I'm going to put the links in if you guys want to check out Believe Ranch and Rescue and Horses in Our Hands. And like I said, we just meet amazing people all the time. People like Beck and Siri. You guys, I mean,
they're so friendly. They're just so uplifting. Yeah,
and Siri is a speaker, one of the speakers, and just an amazing speaker for Tony Robbins. So
yeah, and just I'm in awe of this, because I was training for I've run a couple of marathons, and I was training for my second marathon when we met them, and I remember looking up. I was just curious what some of Beck's times were. I was like, I'm going to see what this. So I look up these some of the breakdowns for these triathlons, and I just was stunned. Like the time for the marathon would be so fast that I wouldn't even dream of ever getting anywhere close to it. And remember, that's the marathon time after the swim and riding the bike for like 115 miles or whatever it is,
right,
and then getting off and then running the marathon and running it in like a time that people can only dream of. It's just like superhuman. So impressive.
Yeah. And we were in that world for a little bit. John and I did a triathlon. They inspired us to do one.
Sprint triathlon.
This is like a little teeny baby one.
We did a baby triathlon.
It was a baby one. But their team actually taught me how to swim, as an adult. So anyway, we're super lucky to have clients like that, clients, friends, and all of you guys. So Ms. Mirna says, thank you for your never-ending legal information about immigration issues. More power to you both, and more power to all of you guys. Thank you.
And Beck, thanks for inspiring us. Really awesome.
And Siri, but this is not about Siri, because it's not an inspiring immigration story.
I know, that's why I totally
No. But that's why I had to say, and Siri. But I'm not talking about Siri. She has her own amazing story. Maybe we could do like a petitioner inspiring story.
There you go. That's
All right. So what do we have next? John is the keeper of our schedule.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of watching the comments. So let's do this with the comments, guys. Let's go.
Okay, well, we can move to the immigration updates, or you've been talking for a minute. Why don't I go ahead and get us up to date on what's going on with some of this legislation. And I apologize, I am going to be referring to some notes, even though I know this stuff. I read about it all the time. Just want to make sure that I get all the actual phrasing exactly right. So let's just quick review, okay?
Hi, Lakeisha.
For those of you who maybe are new to all of this, I think in February, as you know, the Senate introduced a bill for very comprehensive immigration reform. This was a huge bill that has all kinds of stuff in it. It was broken into 4 major groups, and we've discussed them previously here. If you want to go back and look at some of our other live casts, you can see a little more detail about them. One was creating the lawful prospective immigrant status. This would be a status for anyone who's in the country as of January 1st of 2021. There was also information about the Dreamers and current DACA recipients, TPS recipients, and agricultural workers. Those were the big things. And this huge Senate bill tackled all of that. And it still is there. It's just that it got a lot of pushback right when it came out. And, it just kind of was a little, looked like it was going to be a heavy lift. Let me just put it that way. In the meantime, in the House of Representatives, and I personally think the House of Representatives was kind of anticipating that the Senate bill was so big that maybe all of it wasn't going to happen all at one time. So the House of Representatives passed some of its own bills that essentially tracked the language of parts of the Senate bill. So they have their own, and so they passed that last month. And that includes, and they specifically, that they didn't get into the lawful prospective immigrant status. That's the one that would provide a pathway to citizenship for a huge number of undocumented folks right now. And instead, the House of Representatives focused on the TPS, the Dreamers, including DACA, and the agricultural workers. Okay, so one of them that they passed is the American Dream and Promise Act, and that combined 2 parts of the Senate bill. The Dream Act would provide adjustment of status to LPR for non-citizens who entered the U.S. as children, and the American Promise Act would also grant permanent resident status for folks from countries that have been designated for TPS, temporary protected status.
Can I pause here?
Yes, absolutely.
Really quickly. So one of the things is that it's a faster pathway to citizenship for people who have DACA, essentially. And the way that I see it and am reading it is that you should apply for DACA. You should still apply for DACA now if you think that you're eligible. They are accepting new DACA applications, because if you are granted DACA, the way that I see it is you will get funneled into this, faster path to LPR, and then the 3-year path to U.S. citizenship. So that's just my tip. Yeah. With regard to filing for DACA. Good, for those out there. Yeah.
Good pro tip there. The other bill that came out of the House of Representatives was the Farm Workforce Modernization Act. In the Senate version, this was called the Agricultural Workers Adjustment Act. And so that was going to deal with agricultural workers. And this would also grant lawful permanent resident status to folks who were doing agricultural labor or services. So, for those of you who don't know, the Senate bill, of course, would then have to go over to the House for them to debate it and do whatever they want to do with it through committee. The House versions would go to the Senate and do the same thing. And the theory is that for something to become a law, it has to have some part of it that's agreed upon by passes both the House and the Senate, goes to the president for a signature to sign it into law. Okay, so right now there's no new news on any of these other than the fact that they are just now winding their way. So I think the stuff that came out of the House of Representatives is going to have a lot more possibility. And I'm already hearing, some negotiation going on that maybe we can do this and do that, because we want to try to, they can get anything out of the House. But the problem is in the Senate, it's a little bit harder for this stuff to get through, because right now it's a 50-50 split. And in order for anything to get through the Senate, it would have to overcome a 60 vote majority to end debate, close debate, and move it on for a vote. And then, so that's, the problem is you need 60 votes for that. And right now that just isn't there. So they're working on it. We'll keep you up to date. And obviously, if any of this and when any of this, whether it all comes at one time or whether it trickles through one little thing at a time, whatever, when it all becomes law, when each part becomes law, we will make sure that we're on top of it. We'll make sure to let you know about it so that you can properly evaluate whether you're eligible for it. And if you are eligible for it, how you go about doing it, and we can help you with that. Okay?
Absolutely. So please follow our page. If you know of anyone who may be able to use the information that we give here every Sunday night and, really throughout the week, please share the page as well. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
We'll keep monitoring it. I check in on this every couple of days. Well, actually every day, but
every day.
Usually not much.
It's just our excuse to every day. Yeah.
So if something comes up, anything super positive, that's great news, you'll hear it from us and we can help guide you. All righty.
Yes.
So that's the update on that.
Thanks for the update.
And
so just to,
have a question,
yes, we do have a question. We are on Instagram. Hello, Instagram fam. Nice to see you guys. We're going to figure it out where we can actually be talking to you as well, kind of head on. But I'm Radlyn Mendoza. This is my law partner and husband, John Gardner, and we are the attorneys and founders at Gardner and Mendoza Immigration Law in Virginia Beach. And we have a great team there. We really do, and we're super proud of the law firm, but most importantly, of our team and all of the great work that they do for our clients. So thank you guys again for your support. I see Trevor here. He sent me a message. It was super, super sweet today. We were kind of like teasing back and forth, like, Trevor, please stop feeding my ego. But Trevor he basically was saying that his mom is getting ready to apply for U.S. citizenship.
Right.
And his message was, you helped me. And now I'm helping my mom because I'm helping her with the filing fee and helping her with the process. And now she's going to be able to help my brother and sister. And he's just, just always giving us a lot of love. So, man, when we took him as a client many, many years ago, he's paying us back so many times. I mean, it's just, he's just touched us in so many ways. And Trevor has actually been one of our inspiring immigration stories.
That's right.
And he has an amazing story. So thank you for your support, Trevor. I've got Bot is on. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Got a question from Carlos. I'm going to pop that up. I just want to say hi to Julieta. Hi, Julieta.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Julieta.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see here.
Okay, the question was up there.
And Shauna is asking about citizenship. I'll be happy to answer that. Any specific questions? So here's Carlos's question. How long does it take after I submit the physical exam and the rest of information for my green card? So it sounds like, Carlos, you are applying for adjustment of status to get your green card, the I-485 and all the other forms that go along with that, the affidavit of support, your work permit, the travel document. And if you're here in this in this jurisdiction, if you're in Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, if you're in Richmond, anyway, if your office is going to ultimately be Norfolk, that process is taking about 6 to 8 months. And so, it also depends on, if you are the parent of a U.S. citizen, for example, if that's how you're applying, then it could be faster and no interview. So if it's a marriage case, if you're applying because you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, then it could be about 6 to 8 months. We are going to have updated processing times very soon in a couple of weeks because we have a meeting with the field office director, a virtual meeting. So we'll hop on right after that and give you guys all of the updates of that field office director meeting. So thanks for that question, Carlos.
Yeah, great
Processing
question.
times are really important. And,
yeah,
I don't think we said it last week, but we'll say it this week. File your case.
Yeah.
File your case, because when you file your case, that is the time that you get in the USCIS, the immigration line. Okay, you get in line. That's the date that you get in line. And that date, your priority date, is what they base all of the processing times on. So the sooner you file your case, the sooner you get in line, the sooner your case is processed and done. That's the way it's supposed to work. That's the way that it typically almost always works. So please file your case if you think that you are eligible for a benefit. Yes. And get in that line. Get in that line.
Just think about like remember in the old days when you go to like the butcher and you could take a number and then you'd be waiting around and you knew it was going to be a while, but you want to get your number so that you were in the queue, you were in the line, and then you could do other stuff and wait for your number to get called. And then
that is a great analogy. They still do that at Fresh Market, the butcher and the deli counter.
That's right.
They still do that at deli counter, don't they?
I don't know.
No, they have it. Yeah, you're right. They slice it all up.
Like
and
it's
then
more of a free for all there, just sort of people like, hey.
The Fresh Market, I believe they still have the numbers when things get a little crowded. So, all right, let's see if we have any questions. Hello, Miss Shauna. Good to see you. If you have a specific question about citizenship, let me know.
It's not a specific question, so we'll see. Maybe there's a follow-up that we can get from that.
All right. And Bot is asking about inquiring about a nanny from the Philippines. So with the nanny from the Philippines, there unfortunately is not a nanny visa. I wish there were a nanny visa. That's correct. Were. Okay. I wish there were a nanny visa. Are you going to help me out here? You were the English major. Come on. Jeez. Not even helping me out with the grammar.
I was thinking actually about how to rephrase the sentence completely and just avoid it. I was thinking you could just say, I wish we had a nanny visa, but we do not have a nanny visa. So that you have to go through the PERM process, the labor certification process, in order to bring a nanny to the United States. Right now, I believe that it's current for the Philippines, but that could change. It's just this very long process of, asking the Department of Labor for a wage for the nanny, number one. Number two, doing recruitment. So you have to recruit U.S. workers, U.S. willing workers for this position. And then once you do that recruitment, so you have to advertise in, 2 Sunday ads in your local newspaper. Once you do that recruitment, and if no U.S. workers apply for this job, or people apply for the job, but they're not qualified for the job, if there are qualifications for this job, then we can file the labor certification, the PERM application. The Department of Labor, okay, this is a really long process. The Department of Labor can certify that. They can audit it. We actually just got through an audit and it got approved. Yay! It was a Friday win for us. And once they certify that, then the employer has to then go and file the petition for alien worker. And then once the petition for alien worker is approved and a visa is available, then the nanny in the Philippines can do immigrant visa consular processing based on that approved I-140 petition and the labor certification, the certified labor certification. So that's it in a nutshell. It's kind of a lot. Yeah. Did you get that? Yeah. Pretty straightforward process.
But listen, call me. Bot she's really family. So you a very, very old family friend. But please reach out if you need any more clarification, or if that's something that you feel like, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. That sounds like a great plan.
And so Julieta had a question here as well.
Okay.
There you go.
Ooh, this is a really good question. Julieta is an old friend of ours. And one of the reasons that I don't speak Spanish fluently is because she wouldn't teach me the Spanish. Like, I would always try to make Spanish speaking dates with her, and she just blew me off. No, I'm just kidding. She's probably like, what is she talking about? No, we were always supposed to speak Spanish at our lunches, but we just spoke English because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Julieta is an amazing advocate for the community. And thank you for all that you do for the Latino community, Julieta. You really are a godsend to so many people. She has her own comprehensive insurance business. So put your information in the comments, Julieta, if you, for people to call you.
Even though it's your fault.
It is your fault. No hablo español. Mi inglés es mucho mejor.
Actually, all bilingual Spanish speakers who just speak English with us, and then we can never learn Spanish.
Right. All of our friends who speak Spanish, they don't. Well, look, Enrique, he's saying hola. Thank you, Enrique, for helping us out. All right. Julieta's question, is there anything other than income to be a sponsor for a friend? So I am assuming that you're talking about the affidavit of support, the I-864. So you need the affidavit of support if you're applying for the green card, if you're doing immigrant visa processing abroad. And so the requirement, Julieta, is as a joint sponsor, you have to be able to, of course, reach the income levels, and that you could find that on the poverty guidelines is the I-864P. And you have to be either a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. And there may be a domicile requirement there too. I need to check that. You live in the United States anyway. When I say domicile, I mean you live in the United States. So I'll double check that you live in the US. But I'm just curious now. So the requirement is that you have to be either a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident. And of course that you meet the income requirements. Other than that, no other requirements. So yes, a friend can file the affidavit of support for another friend. There does not have to be a familial relationship. So Julieta, I hope I answered your question. You know, had you taught me Spanish, I would have answered it in Spanish, but no.
Right. We had a question here. It's not a legal question. Would we ever consider having a bilingual volunteer around the office? Of course. I mean, we do have
volunteers. We love volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't that mean you don't have to pay them?
I mean, we do have one attorney who is fluent in Spanish, and two of our other team members are also fluent in Spanish. So we have 3 Spanish speakers in our office, but we are always happy to have volunteers, interns, reach out to us.
Yes, Carmen, please. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question.
We'd be happy to talk to you about that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we just, the outpouring of support that we have in our community is just, it's so sweet. And thank you for saying that, Carmen. But yeah, reach out to us. Send us a DM. Mm-hmm. We're always willing to talk to great people who are willing to help the community. All right. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Well, Shauna is asking about the process to apply for U.S. citizenship.
Oh, did not see that.
I can answer that question.
Yeah, she can.
I know what the process is.
She can definitely.
I know what the process is. I know what the process is. Before we answer that question, do you have any other criminal or court updates or anything like that you want to touch on?
No, we talked last week about the marijuana, but no, I just wanted to stick to the immigration tonight.
Okay.
We are going to do. We're going to talk more about criminal one of these nights coming up, because I do want to do a deep dive into some of that. But for tonight, we're going to stick with immigration only.
Maybe that should be a webinar.
Absolutely.
So much fun, a webinar. A webinar doesn't sound, okay, what am I going into for? Let me answer this question. Let me answer this question. Okay. So in order to apply for citizenship, I'm going to try to hit on some of the main requirements. Okay. You have to be either a lawful permanent resident for 5 years, or 3 years if you received your green card based on marriage to a U.S. citizen, okay? You have to be a person of good moral character. That means that you should not have any charges or convictions that do not fall under something called the petty offense exception, okay? And so if you have a traffic ticket, then that's okay. You know, if you have a traffic ticket within the 5 years that you apply for U.S. citizenship, that's fine. It's not a big deal. But if you have, I've seen this multiple, you have 25 traffic tickets, then, even though they're small infractions, the immigration officer could basically try to say that you're not a person of good moral character. So other things that would knock you out of the good moral character box is voting, okay? Registering to vote. Please don't do that. Do we have an election coming? Don't we have a gubernatorial election coming up pretty soon or something? So one of the things that it doesn't happen very often, but we do see it, and that's when lawful permanent residents, they register to vote at the DMV. It's just kind of like a streamlined process, and you think you can vote, right? Or you register, even the fact of registering could knock you out of the good moral character.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, be careful with the voting. So that's one. Any type of misrepresentation. So if you're sitting at the interview and you get a traffic ticket and you didn't put it on your application, and the immigration officer says, oh, well, you got a reckless driving. I'll talk about reckless driving in a second. You got a reckless driving, 10 years ago. And you're like, no, I didn't. Yeah, you did. You did. Or maybe the officer will ask in a different way. It's like, do you have any other, criminal charges or traffic tickets or any charges? And you just say no, and you say no, and you say no throughout the interview. Even though it's outside of the good moral character period, they can knock you out and deny your case because of lying at your interview. And that shows that you are not a person of good moral character. So those are a couple of things that we see kind of frequently with regard to the good moral character. And Shauna, you're not going to have any problems like that. But
false claims to citizenship also are something to be careful with.
Yeah, false claims to citizenship are just, you're dead in the water. But anyway, so person of good moral character, the application that you use is the N-400, and you can get all the forms on USCIS.gov, the N-400, and you prepare that, you answer all the questions. It's a 21-page application. Much of it is biographic information that and you submit that. You make sure that you file it in the correct place. The current filing fee right now is $725. Once you file your application, taxes also, not paying taxes is another thing that you do need to take care of, or have a payment plan with the IRS in order for USCIS to approve that N-400. Anyhow, so once you file that, then you'll get your receipt notice from USCIS, you'll get your biometrics notice, and then you'll get an interview notice. You appear for the interview. And at that interview, of course, you guys know that you have to study U.S. civics and history. And there was a little crazy thing where we had like this new test. And then now the new test is gone. They don't have that new test. You have to study the old test. It is the 2008 version of the civics and history. And you study 100 questions. Immigration officer asks you 10 of those questions. If you answer the first 6 correct, then you've passed. And you also have to be able to speak English and write English. And what that entails is you will speaking English, and you'll read something and read. I'm sorry, what am I saying? Reading and writing. Gosh, reading and writing English. So the officer will give you something to read. You read it. It's a sentence, and then the officer will give you 1 sentence to write. So that's what the process is. Once you pass those tests, then your application will be recommended for approval. The very last part of this step is that you go to an oath ceremony. And currently, because of COVID, those are being done at the Norfolk Immigration Office, usually about a month after your interview. And you swear in to become a U.S. citizen, and you take the oath of allegiance to the United States of America. And once you have that certificate of naturalization, you walk out of there, you're a U.S. citizen, you can go apply for a U.S. passport. So, Shauna, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you had anything more specific other than the process. I love talking about citizenship. I talk about it and do it so much that I probably have missed a couple of things, but those are the kind of the nuts and bolts. But there's a lot in there, some people are like, well, why do people hire you to do their citizenship application? There's a lot in the N-400 that can be problematic for our clients, and they may not even know it. So anyhow.
Yeah, and speaking about the criminal things that can become a problem, I really will. I'm determined now. We're going to definitely do one of these in the near future where we're going to really talk about in more detail some of the criminal charges that there are out there that can get you into trouble with this stuff that may not even seem like that big of a deal, because maybe you just paid a small fine or something and you don't really think it mattered. But you gotta be careful with that stuff. So we'll talk about that more. Maybe not next week, but definitely within the next couple of
Maybe
weeks.
not on Facebook Live or Sunday, maybe some other special thing. So that jogged my memory that I said I was going to talk about reckless driving. And reckless driving, as John has mentioned, it's kind of a big deal. It's kind of a big deal.
Well, it's a class 1 misdemeanor.
It's a class 1 misdemeanor
in Virginia.
And what does class 1 misdemeanor mean? What is that?
It means it's a maximum sentence of 12 months in jail or a $2,500 fine, or both.
Right.
And there are 2 types of reckless driving.
Yeah, can you talk about that just for like 1 minute?
Yeah, just very briefly. One involves speed. So if you're going 20 miles per hour or more over the maximum speed limit, or excess of 85, it was 80, excess of 85, regardless of what the speed limit is, then that's a reckless driving that's by speed, basically. You can also be charged with reckless driving for just driving in any manner that's endangers life or property in a reckless way. So you can get it by speed, but you can also get it by just, being very, usually in those cases that I see, it's like super aggressive driving. We've all seen this where somebody's doing something that's very, very dangerous on the road. But either one of those can be charged as reckless driving. And just so you know, so you don't freak out, and if you're listening to this and you get reckless driving, if you're in an accident and there's significant damage, usually $1,000 or more, it's almost always going to be charged as reckless driving, even if what happened was very minor. Like, wait a second, I wasn't doing anything reckless. I misjudged the turn and there was an accident. But if there was a lot of damage, property damage, or if somebody got hurt, it's going to get charged as reckless driving. That doesn't mean you're going to get convicted of it, though.
Right. And so a lot of people will not put reckless driving on their N400.
Especially for the speed,
because they look at it as a speeding ticket,
yeah.
And you have to put that on your N400 application, and you need to bring the certified disposition of your reckless driving conviction paperwork. What do you call it? What do you guys call it? To your interview. And if it's not done, if your case is not done, they're going to hold your case, and they may deny the case if you have a pending reckless driving ticket and it's still kind of in limbo because you haven't gone to court. And we just did a case like that we appealed. And speaking of which, we just got some amazing reviews over the week because we made some real change in these cases where it just kind of looked like, okay, this case is going to get denied. And we filed appeals, and they were, the denials were overturned, which of course always feels great. But the reckless driving issue was one of them for one of our clients. She filed for citizenship. She went to her interview. In between the time that she passed and everything, and her case was recommended for approval, and her swearing in, she got a reckless driving ticket. It's speeding, okay? No big deal, but it was during COVID, right? It was during COVID, so the courts were closed, and she got her swearing in. Went to the swearing in. We can't swear you in because you have a pending reckless driving ticket. So they ultimately denied her case because her N400, her naturalization case, because she her reckless driving was still pending. It hadn't been resolved yet. So we were just kind of like thinking, should we refile? Because the filing fee is $725 to file an appeal. It's $700. And I was just like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, it just needs to be resolved and taken care of. And then it will open up the doorway for her to get the approval. So yeah, that's what happened. We appealed it, and it was super quick and easy. Once, we turned in the certified disposition that the case had been resolved, and, she's going to be swearing in soon. So that was a definite win. There's another one, but we'll talk about that win next week.
And if you all are working on these yourself, and you're curious about the certified disposition of your case, you can get that from the clerk's office. So whatever court you were convicted in, you can go to the clerk's office and they will get a certified copy for you. And if it's a really old conviction and they don't have it anymore, they'll give you a certified letter saying that they don't have it in their records anymore. Okay.
Right.
And so there's no way for you to produce it because there's no way for the court to produce it. Never plead guilty to reckless driving because you don't want to do that.
Yeah, and if you get one, just call John.
You should always try to get it reduced. All right. And also, when you were talking about the delays, I was just sitting here thinking, also with criminal cases, you really want to try to avoid any long probation periods. And so courts like to sometimes give a little tiny bit of jail and then suspend all of it on condition of good behavior for 3 years. That's not good for you. Because if you're on that good behavior period, then all your immigration stuff is sort of in this holding limbo pattern because they can't take any final action on it because you're not out of the good behavior period yet. So just you want to really try.
I forgot all about the good behavior period.
Try to cut those down to a minimum, or if you have a different lawyer other than me, try to make sure that you tell them that.
Well, make sure that they know that this is what's riding on this. So no, I can't be on 1 year probation or whatever.
Right. Just make sure you tell them about that you're not a U.S. citizen. That's the most important thing. And hopefully they'll inquire further about what they should do about it.
Right. Basically, if you tell your criminal defense lawyer or your traffic attorney, if you have a reckless driving ticket, that you are not a U.S. citizen and you're going through the process of, getting your citizenship or getting your green card, and they say it doesn't matter, well, you need to find a new lawyer. And I'm just going to be bold about saying that. And no shade to your fellow colleague, criminal defense, or mine too. No shade to the criminal defense bar. But yes, it absolutely matters if your client is not a U.S. citizen. Oh, we're not going to go down that road.
Okay.
We have some follow-up questions, and I have not even given immigration updates.
I know.
Okay, though.
A couple of questions.
Let me answer these quick follow-up questions from Shawnette. Yes, absolutely, Shawnette. We definitely help with people and their citizenship. And yes, a DMV automatically tries to put you down as registering. I've seen it happen many, many times before. Check that out. Check to see, I think it's Virginia registered voting. I don't remember what the site is. I'll put it in the comments, but you can check to see if you're registered to vote. If you are registered to vote, you need to unregister yourself ASAP.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
If you're not a U.S. citizen and you don't want to claim to be one, if you go to work somewhere and they give you an I-9 to fill out, don't say that you're a citizen because you think it's going to help you get a better job or something. You will regret it. Right. And yes, it is another interview for citizenship. It's a live interview. And I know they're doing kind of, I'm not going to go down that road of experimenting with virtual interviews because that's not in effect yet. All right, let's see here. So this is a couple of questions here from June W. Why don't you talk about some things while I read this real quick? Because it's kind of long. Well, the only stuff we have left were the immigration updates that you were going to be. I could recite the poem again. Does anybody want to? Please don't recite. Reset the room. Reset the room. Why don't we do a quick introduction of us? And, yes. So for those of you who are just joining us and you missed my reading of the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Well, I didn't read it. I just said it. But anyway, I'm not going to do it again. Sorry. But I'm John Gardner, and this is my wife and law partner, Radlyn Mendoza, and we are the immigration law firm, Gardner and Mendoza, and we come to you every Sunday night at 8 o'clock to give you updates, answer your questions. Sometimes we just chat for a little bit so that Radlyn can read the questions and have some time. It was in 3 blocks. Yeah. I'm pulling up the visa bulletin. All right, but let me answer this question. So June W, I'll put this first question. She has her sister has an approved I-130 application, which was filed by her father, has a priority date that is current since last year. Her category is unmarried child over 21 of a U.S. citizen. She's from Brazil. And sister has 2 daughters. One is 9, the other is 7. She lives with her fiance, who is also the father of her girl. She would not like to wait as a married child. Yes. So what that means is basically sis is in a preference category that is going to be faster as a single daughter over that of a married daughter, because it's faster if you're not married.
So this is the reason she did not get married yet. What are their options to make their separation short? So, well, I don't know if this is unfortunately, but the option that they have is as soon as your sister, June, comes into the United States on an immigrant visa, then she should file that I-1, well, no, sorry. She comes in on an immigrant visa, then she needs to go back and marry the fiance. Then after the marriage, she should file an I-130 petition for her husband. That is the fastest way. As a lawful permanent resident, it is the only way in order to petition for him as her husband. And the fiance visa is not going to be available to your sister because you have to be a US citizen in order to file a fiance visa. So right now, the category for the spouse of a lawful permanent resident is current. It's current. And I think it's going to remain current. Part of the immigration reform bill is to classify the spouses and unmarried children under 21 of lawful permanent residents the same way that they're classifying them for US citizens. So that's a step in the right direction in the event that these numbers get backlogged. So June, I know that's kind of a lot. Hopefully that answered your question. But that is the way that I would take a look at this case. And again, this is, I can't say that this is immigration advice because I have, 3 blocks of texts. Whereas, if your sister and her fiance wanted to have a consultation with me and we'd sit down for an hour and just make sure that, I'm checking all the, just making sure that we can do this and this is the best way. And there's not another faster way for your future brother-in-law to immigrate to the United States, even if it's temporary and then changing. So,
just as a reminder, we can't give legal advice in this form.
Right.
The Virginia State Bar does not allow that.
And we have to tell you that, right? But no, what a super question. Like, I love questions like that because there's like a lot going on, and I know how to answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
So that always makes me feel good.
I just saw my Aunt Jill's here. Hi, Jill.
Aunt Jill, how's it going? So many people on tonight. Thank you so much for your support. We are scanning for any questions.
Jill, I hope you didn't miss the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Nana taught that to me.
I think Jill just popped. I don't know. She may have been on, but yeah.
She can rewatch it if she did.
I don't know. You remember the poem. I don't remember anything from when I was a little kid. And I'm blaming it on the fact that I had to birth 3 children and you did not.
It's an interesting theory.
It totally kills brain cells.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see here. We have a question from Larissa Gray. I have a question. I'm in the process for citizenship. I'm married with a U.S. citizen from Mexico, but we will need a sponsor. Does that affect the process or could it be more slow? So, Larissa, I think that maybe what you're saying is that you're going through the process of becoming a lawful permanent resident of the United States. And then, of course, the next step after you do that is to apply for U.S. citizenship.
Right.
And the fact that you need a sponsor should not, slow things down that at all. You just have to make sure that that affidavit of support from your joint sponsor is completed. I'm not sure where you're doing the process either. So if you're doing consular processing, then everything has to be uploaded. And then if you're doing adjustment of status, if you're here in the United States and going through this process, then just make sure that your affidavit of support, joint sponsor, everything is in there. With your affidavit of support, the petitioner, who in this case would be the U.S. citizen husband, right? Yeah. The U.S. citizen husband would be the petitioner, and then they need a joint sponsor. So the petitioner has to file the affidavit of support, even if they don't make requisite income, and the joint sponsor, will file one. So with the affidavit of support, you need to submit your most recent income tax return, proof that the joint sponsor is a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen. So that would be a copy of the green card, or if the person is a U.S. citizen, their U.S. birth certificate, U.S. passport, or certificate of naturalization if they naturalized. W-2. Did I already say most recent tax return? Most recent tax return, okay, your most
think
recent
you did.
1040, W-2, and pay stub. So most recent pay stub. So those are the things that we submit with the affidavit of support, whether you're the petitioner. If you're the petitioner, the proof of citizenship or lawful permanent residency is already in there. But if the joint sponsor, you need to add that. We do see that with people who self-file, that they're missing that one piece, and that is the green card to show that they're a permanent resident or proof of citizenship. So awesome question tonight. Yeah,
great question. I noticed she put citizenship in quotation marks.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think she knows that the step one, and for those of you who don't, perhaps, step one is to become a lawful permanent resident with the green card. And then the next step would be to apply for citizenship when you're eligible.
Right. So we've got 2 minutes left. Let's see if we have any questions on Instagram. I mean, they're kind of looking at the side of our heads. I don't know if I would be asking a question on this Instagram live, but
yeah, and somebody's given us some.
Oh yeah, this is Carmen. This is
DMV or notice,
yes,
and has given us a very specific. I like this. It's an automatic question when you get your license,
right,
and you are above age, but that doesn't mean you're obligated to do so. So yeah, folks, just again, if you're not a citizen and you're offered that, don't do it. You don't want to register to vote if you're not eligible to vote yet as a citizen. All right.
And I'm just going to tell you from our clients who have gone through this process, and we're looking at like you're registered to vote. They the voter drives and stuff. They just hand you the iPad, and it happens so fast, and you kind of get caught up in them. Like, wow, I can vote, and. Maybe the person doing it does not know the difference between a lawful permanent resident and a U.S. citizen. And I'm not saying that to be condescending or anything, but
or maybe they're just putting out the offer to everyone, and kind of it's your duty to make sure you don't take the bait.
Right. So it's our duty to tell you not to take not the bait, but not to register to vote.
You know what? Bad choice of words. I'm not suggesting that the DMV is attempting to bait people into voting illegally. I just want to make that very clear. That's not not take the offer.
All right. I know that we're over time, over the hour, but I do want to give this really important immigration update regarding fiancé visas. So on April the 8th, this is after our last Facebook Live, a day after, the Secretary of State determined that travel on an immigrant or fiancé visa is in the national interest for purposes of granting exceptions under the geographic COVID proclamation. So what that means is if you are from the countries where, there's a geographic ban due to COVID, why is this thing doing this? That is South Africa, Brazil, the Schengen area, the UK, the Republic of Ireland, the People's Republic of China, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. There's geographical bans right now because of COVID restrictions. And what this is saying is if you are, going through the fiancé visa process, and our clients have been through hell and back because of the fiancé visa processing delays because of COVID, and now because of the geographic bans, they are opening up interviews for fiancé visa. So that's fantastic news, and we're super, super excited for our clients who are going to finally be able to come to the United States and get married and begin their lives together. So that I just wanted to mention that. I mean, there are other updates. There was kind of an official letter about the public charge and asking the stakeholders and state governments to spread the word that the public charge rule is no longer in effect. It's like it's not in effect right now. So the concern is that people are not getting treated for COVID. They're not getting their vaccinations if that's what they want to do. They're not getting Medicaid benefits or public housing or SNAP benefits because they're afraid that this public charge rule is going to be problematic for them in their green card case. The public charge rule is dead, and it's something that you guys don't have to worry about anymore. We talked about the affidavit of support a little bit earlier in doing sponsorship and petitioning. It's the old, I can't remember the date that came into effect, but I believe it was maybe 99. But bottom line is that public charge rule is dead. You don't have to worry about that. So please, if you need help, Get the help. It's not going to be.
It's not going to be used against you. It's not going to count against you.
Right.
So get what you need. Do what you need to do.
All right. Let's see. Do we have any other comments? 601 waiver. Okay, so Israel Galan, he's asking, what is the approximate time for the 601A waiver to be approved under the new administration? So processing times, I haven't seen anything drastically change since Biden has come into office. I don't know off the top of my head what 601 waiver, how long 601A waivers are taking right now. Israel, I'll shoot that to you in the message when I look it up. I have to take a look at the processing times. And our attorney, our Spanish-speaking attorney Sarah Lawler, she's the one that handles all of our waivers. She's waiver queen. That's what we call her in the office. She has an amazing success rate. It's probably 100%, but I'm going to ask her because sometimes when you look at processing times online, they're very different to what we are seeing in the field, right? Like processing times may be much longer than what we're experiencing with our own 601A waiver clients. So Israel, thank you so much for that question. Again, processing times are so important to people because again, we all know that's, once you file, that's how long it's going to take your case. So, all right.
Okay. We did have one last question that just came in, and this deals with, basically we've been talking a lot about this voting that we went off on, and somebody voting in a local election. And you can put this question up.
Yeah, this is such a great question.
To reach out to us because there are some very limited exceptions with this voting involving certain local elections. And so this may not necessarily be a problem.
Right.
Right.
And I don't know where this is. We would have to look it up, Doris.
Exactly.
So Doris's son is voted in a local, and I love this conversation because it's just educating and just hopefully this doesn't happen to anyone else.
So this was a local sheriff's election.
A local sheriff's election. In 2016, he's an immigrant. We mentioned that he should not vote or register. Unfortunately, he was misinformed that he can vote in local election. And that is the case. There are some exceptions, but we'd have to check that. Mm-hmm. Is there any way he can still file for citizenship? I'm thinking that he just stays an immigrant forever and update the green card every 10 years. Thank you for your thoughts. So, there is absolutely a way that he can become a citizen. One, if he was not supposed to register and vote in that local election, again, there are exceptions for lawful permanent residents in local elections. So there is that one thing, right? Like he may be fine.
So he may not even have a problem.
He may not even have a problem, right?
For those of you listening, a sheriff's office is a citywide office. So like the city of Virginia Beach has its own sheriff, Norfolk has one. So that would be a very local election.
Right. So if you're in Virginia Beach, I'll double check that for you. And he can still apply for U.S. citizenship. You have to be outside of the 5-year good moral character period. So if he voted in 2016, we're now in 2021, I would take his case. I would say, I would definitely have an attorney to represent him, but I would say, I'll take your case and I will file your case in 2021, 5 years. If it's a problem, I don't even know if it's a problem, 5 years after you voted and after you registered to vote, let's see what we've got and do that. So we have won cases where people have voted in federal elections after, they have unregistered to vote and the time has passed. So,
and just the very last part of that comment, if it is a problem, if there is no solution that gets him to citizenship, yes, he could be a permanent resident forever. You don't have to apply for citizenship. So yeah, you can be in the United States with a green card, for 75 years.
Right. And there are cases, this case, I wouldn't recommend that if your son is interested in applying for U.S. citizenship. But there are some cases where we tell our clients, no, we don't think you should apply for U.S. citizenship because of a variety of reasons.
Yeah, exactly. But we would be able, if we were able to look at the facts closely and specifically and find out exactly what was the election, where was it,
are we in Virginia, are we in Hampton Roads? I don't know where Dora is, but
we would be able to advise you on whether or not he could pursue it, whether he should or not. Let's put it that way.
Right.
All right. But that's another great question. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes, I love these questions. I hope you guys come back every week and ask these questions because it's always more fun with questions, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You guys don't want to hear us talking about immigration updates, although they are important. The fiance visa one was important and the public charge rule one.
I mean, they're not as good as the poem, but they're
the poem was awesome. Anyhow, all right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up and try to figure out what we're going to eat for dinner. It's kind of late.
Go spread the alarm.
It's kind of late for dinner, but
Village farm.
Look, John and I are matching again today.
Yeah. Okay, gang. Go have your dinner if you haven't, and have a great last little bit of your weekend here, and have a great week. And we'll see you here next week, same time. Okay.
Same time, same place. Please like our page and follow and share, and go check out my TikTok, Radlyn Mendoza on TikTok. I'm not going to say I'm making funny videos, but I am making informational videos, immigration tips, more immigration tips in a 1-minute format. So it's been fun, and we're just spreading out information that will hopefully help you guys.
We'll see you here next week. Bring your questions, okay?
Bring the questions. Thank you, guys.
And
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Have a great week, y'all. Take care.
Bye. Okay.